Yo, what does up? Welcome back to Reviews with Jake, where I just got done watching The Little Things. The Little Things is about an old seasoned cop who teams up with a young hotshot detective who try to work together to solve a string of murders. Their trail takes them to a dude that reeks of sketch and takes them on a little game of cat and mouse. I'm just sitting here minding my own watching the Browns-Steelers playoff game a few weeks ago, and then all of a sudden I get blasted by a commercial for a trailer of a movie I'd never heard before, and I hear Denzel Washington, Rami Malek, and Jared Leto. I immediately take out my phone and add it to my review list while simultaneously affirming the good investment that I made in HBO Max. Now don't get me wrong, I think that movies of this sort, the psychological crime thriller, I think they're a little overdone and overplayed. But if you bring together these three actors, these three titans of talent, it's gotta be something, right? I mean, I basically did the exact same thing last week with our friend. I took a movie in a genre that I probably wouldn't review otherwise, but because it had a couple actors that I dig, I watched and reviewed it and loved it. So why not try it again? The pros start with this movie starting off on a very intriguing note. It is a very suspenseful sequence that is very well directed, well paced, well executed, and it really just kind of got me ready in that mindset to watch a mind of a film. There were also a few other decent tense sequences throughout the course of the film that you kind of need in order to gain that classification as a crime psychological thriller, and they had them. This classification that it earned is reinforced by the soundtrack. I really liked it. It was shrouded in mystery, confusion, curiosity. On a more personal level, it reminded me of a score that a friend of mine wrote for one of my films a couple years ago that had that same ominous feel, and I really loved it. It's one of those soundtracks that make you feel like the movie should be set in the fog, like you aren't seeing things clearly, and it's very intentional. Speaking of not seeing things clearly, I really dug the lighting in this movie, or sometimes even the lack thereof. It had a great command of both lights and shadows, contrasting and balancing both very well. It had a very intentional use of shadows, which added a sort of grit to this movie. Like, it wasn't meant to feel like a movie where everything is pristinely lit. The lighting was pretty rough in this movie, and I think that was by design. It did not feel fabricated. It felt like it was down in the dirt on the grime and blood of a crime scene floor. The last thing I enjoyed was Jared Leto's character and performance. The quality of this film just jumps so much once we're finally introduced to Leto's uncomfortable, eerie character. He just has an aura about him. He just reeks of someone that would be up to no good, has a few screws loose up there. I mean, I don't blame our two protagonists to believe that he's the one responsible here. Do I think he pulled any muscles with this performance? No, I think he generally plays this type of role, the frickin' weirdo, but that doesn't mean it's not enjoyable. I dug it. However, that does bring me right to the cons, because everything leading up to the introduction of Jared Leto's character, which is a pretty good chunk of the runtime, I felt that it had some pacing issues. I feel like I've been hearing a lot of the opposite, people saying that they really enjoyed everything leading up to Leto's introduction, but I don't know, maybe I'm on an island here, but I thought it was a little boring. Look, Denzel Washington is fine. Denzel plays Denzel, and Rami Malek, he was okay, I guess, but I'll be honest, my prerogative would not be to see him playing a detective. I mean, he wasn't terrible, don't get me wrong. I guess he got the job done, but I guess for me, when I see Rami Malek, I want to see him in obscure roles. That's where he thrives. I mean, good on him for trying something new and branching out of his usual form, but I don't know, it just wasn't the role that I was hoping to see from him. But the two of them as a pair just didn't do much for me. There wasn't much for fireworks of chemistry. I mean, it wasn't until Leto was introduced that there was something interesting to see. Up until that point, it's just another entry in a long history of movies that are like the exact same thing. Nothing new being brought to the table, no reinventing the wheel, no real thrills, honestly. I mean, it was just kind of boring and slow. They try to thicken up the characterization of our two protagonists. Denzel Washington has a backstory, a little bit of past trauma. Rami Malek has a family, but neither one of these things really did much to make me care for either of them. I mean, in Rami Malek's case, maybe it is kind of subliminal. Maybe it's because I'm just so used to him playing more emotionally as socially aloof characters, Elliot and Mr. Robot, Freddie Mercury. So maybe when a movie tells me that this character has emotional stock in other people, maybe I'm just not buying it deep down in my head. I don't know. Who knows? I'm not trying to get into this head of mine. The bottom line is this movie failed to deliver anything original and profound. I mean, I think they had a game plan. I think I see the pieces at the end of the day and think that they had something in mind that could have been special but failed to do so and execute properly. I don't know exactly what it is that this movie is missing, the thing that's making it fall short of that upper echelon of psychological crime thrillers, but I promise you one thing, it is not the lack of editing. This movie was way over edited. I mean, they went to town with a tomahawk on this thing. I noticed at several points throughout this film, multiple sequences, it would be a wide shot, very usable, fine wide shot. then it would cut in to a mid or a close-up, nothing special of the action, then it would hook back out to that same wide shot. Every time it happened, I failed to see why they did that. I mean, there was nothing about the action that merited them to get closer to it. All they did was add an extra jump to the sequence. It was at its worst during an interrogation scene. My God, this one was brutal. Two people in the interrogation room, one on the other side of the glass, and it just flew all over the damn place. Rapid editing, cutting between not only the three of them, but the three of them from all different angles and perspectives that were shifting their eye lines just all over the place. I mentioned the 180-degree rule a couple weeks ago and how I don't think you have to follow it all the time, but damn, this made me eat my words. This was unacceptable. I get that you have a lot of expensive faces on screen in this sequence. That doesn't mean you have to show each and every one of their faces every time one of them breathes. I know I'm a nitpicky son of a bitch that's gonna notice the over-editing throughout the rest of the film, but this sequence, even my girlfriend pointed out, it was jarring as hell. It's glaring. I don't know if the director just thought that the editor wasn't earning his paycheck or what, because they put that dude to work. And it was completely unnecessary. I just don't see the reason why they did that. All in all, this movie did a lot of things that I liked and a lot of things I did not. But at the end of the day, with a trio of leads like this movie was nothing short of disappointing. I'm going to give The Little Things a C. But that's just me. What do you guys think? Let me know if you agree or disagree in the comments below. And make sure to subscribe to this channel to stay up to date with new reviews coming real soon. Stay safe. Thanks for checking in.